Menstruation is a natural biological process. Women have experienced it throughout all of human history. For thousands of years, women managed their periods. They did this long before modern products existed. There were no factories making pads or tampons. Women had to be resourceful. They used what was available in their environment. This section will give a brief look into these very early methods of menstrual care. It helps us understand the long journey to the products we have today. It shows how far menstrual technology has come. Societal views about menstruation in ancient times were very diverse. These views greatly influenced how women dealt with their periods. In some cultures, menstruation was seen as a powerful or sacred time. Women might have special roles or rituals during their cycle. In other societies, menstruation was unfortunately linked with impurity or uncleanliness. This often led to women being isolated or restricted from certain activities. These beliefs, whether positive or negative, shaped the experience of menstruation. They also impacted the types of practices women adopted for managing their monthly flow. These ancient perspectives laid a foundation for later attitudes. So what did women in ancient civilizations actually use? Concrete evidence is often hard to find. Historians believe women used absorbent materials from nature. For example, in ancient Egypt, women might have used softened papyrus. Roman women may have used soft wool. In other parts of the world, women likely used things like grass, moss, leaves, or even animal skins. These items were not specially designed for menstruation. They were materials that were readily available and had absorbent qualities. The focus was on practicality and using what the local environment provided. These early solutions were simple but essential. Studying ancient menstrual practices presents many challenges for historians. Written records from ancient times were often created by men. These records rarely discussed women's intimate health in detail. Archaeological evidence, such as preserved fabric or materials, is also very rare. Organic materials tend to decay over time. Therefore, our understanding is often pieced together from limited clues and interpretations. Despite these difficulties, learning about these ancient methods is important. It highlights the continuous resilience and ingenuity of women. It also shows the beginning of a long historical path leading to modern menstrual hygiene technology. As we move forward from ancient civilizations into pre-industrial eras, the story of menstrual management continues. During the Middle Ages and up until the brink of the Industrial Revolution, women still did not have access to commercially produced sanitary products. Instead, they relied on homemade solutions. These methods were often passed down from mother to daughter. They were an essential part of women's private lives. The specific materials and techniques used could vary greatly. This depended on the geographical region, the local climate, and a family's social and economic status. One of the most common materials used during these times was cloth rags. This is why the phrase on the rag became a colloquial term for menstruation. Women would use scraps of old linen, cotton, or other available fabrics. These pieces of cloth would be folded and worn to absorb menstrual flow. After use, these rags were typically washed and then reused. This task required considerable labor. It also depended on having access to clean water and a private space for washing and drying. In some areas, women also used other natural materials. These included knitted or woven pads, sheep's wool, rabbit fur, or even sea sponges tied with drawstrings. These makeshift solutions, while resourceful, came with several challenges. Comfort was often a significant issue. Homemade pads made from rougher fabrics could be bulky. They could cause chafing and skin irritation, especially with prolonged use. Hygiene was another major concern. Reusable rags needed to be washed very thoroughly with soap and hot water, if available. If not cleaned properly, or if they couldn't be dried completely, they could harbor bacteria. This could potentially lead to infections. Discretion was also difficult to achieve. Bulky pads could be noticeable under clothing, which was a concern in societies where menstruation was a hidden topic. Despite these limitations, women showed remarkable ingenuity in managing their periods. They adapted the materials they had at hand to meet this fundamental need. This period of history underscores women's ongoing resourcefulness. It also clearly demonstrates the significant unmet need for more effective, comfortable, and hygienic menstrual solutions. The challenges faced by women using these older methods slowly but surely created a demand This demand would eventually pave the way for the innovations that were to come with the rise of industrial manufacturing. The desire for something better was a quiet but persistent force. The late 19th century marked a period of immense transformation in Western societies. The Industrial Revolution was in full swing. It brought about new manufacturing capabilities and changed many aspects of daily life. This era of invention and progress also began to touch upon the very private world of menstrual hygiene. For the first time, people started to think about creating and selling products specifically for menstruation. It was a very slow and tentative beginning. The idea of a commercial menstrual product was quite radical for its time. Society was not yet ready for open discussions about such topics. Before the advent of disposable pads as we know them, a few early patents for menstrual devices appeared. These were not always practical or widely adopted. Some inventors proposed items like rubberized aprons or catamenial sacks. These were designed to be worn by women to hold absorbent material or to prevent staining of clothes. The first products resembling disposable pads began to emerge in the late 1800s. For instance, Southall's protective towel appeared in Great Britain around 1888. In the United States, Johnson & Johnson is said to have introduced Lister's towels around 1896. These early commercial pads were a novel concept, but they faced an uphill battle for acceptance. Marketing these new menstrual products was an enormous challenge. Menstruation was a deeply taboo subject in Victorian society. It was considered improper to discuss it publicly. This made advertising very difficult. Companies could not simply describe what their products were for in plain language. Advertisements, if they were accepted by publications at all, had to be extremely discreet. Products were often sold in plain packaging. They might be kept behind the pharmacist's counter. Women often had to ask for them using euphemisms or by pointing. This culture of silence made it hard for these pioneering products to gain widespread awareness or market share. The social context of women's lives was also slowly changing during this period. More women were beginning to seek education. Some were entering the paid workforce, particularly in new urban industries. These shifts in women's roles created a greater practical need for more convenient and reliable menstrual management. Makeshift solutions like reusable rags were becoming less practical for women who spent more time outside the home. The first commercial sanitary napkins, though far from perfect and not widely used initially, represented an important first step. They signaled a budding awareness that menstruation was a hygiene issue that could be addressed with manufactured products. The outbreak of World War I from 1914 to 1918 had a profound and unexpected impact on the development of sanitary napkins. The war created an enormous demand for medical supplies, especially absorbent bandages for treating wounded soldiers. This urgent need spurred innovation in the production and types of materials used for wound dressings. Little did anyone know at the time, these wartime advancements in medical technology would soon find a completely different, yet equally important application in women's personal hygiene. It was a classic case of necessity leading to an unforeseen invention that would change daily life for millions. A key material development during this period was cellucotton. This was a wood pulp wadding product manufactured by the American company Kimberly-Clark. It was found to be far more absorbent than traditional cotton bandages. It was also much cheaper to produce in large quantities, which was crucial during wartime. The military ordered vast amounts of cellucotton for use in field hospitals and on the front lines. This material proved highly effective for staunching bleeding and dressing wounds. Its high absorbency and disposability were significant advantages in a medical crisis situation like a global war. It was French nurses working on the battlefields who made a crucial observation. They noticed the superior absorbency of the cellucotton bandages. Faced with the challenges of managing their own menstruation while working long, demanding hours in difficult conditions, these nurses began to improvise. They started using surplus cellucotton material as makeshift sanitary pads. It was highly effective for absorbing menstrual flow. Critically, it was also disposable, which was a significant improvement over reusable rags, especially in a wartime setting where laundry facilities were scarce. This was a practical, grassroots innovation born directly from experience and need. After World War I ended, Kimberly-Clark found itself with a large surplus of cellucotton. The company was actively looking for new peacetime applications for this material. They learned about how the nurses had ingeniously adapted cellucotton for their menstrual needs. Recognizing the commercial potential of this idea, Kimberly-Clark began to develop a disposable sanitary napkin for the general public. This product would eventually be named Kotex. Its development and subsequent success were a direct legacy of the nurses' resourcefulness and the technological advancements spurred by the war. This connection highlights how innovations can cross from one field to another unexpectedly. Section 5. The Roaring Twenties and Beyond. Early commercial products take hold. The 1920s ushered in a new era for menstrual hygiene as the first widely available commercial sanitary napkins made their debut. Building on the cellucotton innovation from World War I, Kimberly-Clark launched Kotex sanitary napkins in 1920. They were one of the very first disposable pads to be mass-marketed. Following this, Johnson & Johnson, which had earlier produced Lister's towels, introduced their own improved product called Modess in 1927. These products offered women a level of convenience and hygiene that was previously unattainable with homemade methods. The concept of a disposable pad, used once and then thrown away, was quite revolutionary for many women at the time. Advertising these new products remained a significant challenge for manufacturers. The societal taboo surrounding menstruation was still very strong in the 1920s. Open discussion of periods was considered impolite and inappropriate. Early advertisements for Kotex and Modess had to be extremely careful and discreet in their wording. They often used euphemisms referring to hygienic needs or personal comfort rather than directly mentioning menstruation or periods. Many magazines were initially hesitant to even accept advertisements for such intimate products. It took time and persistent effort from companies to gradually make these ads more common, though still very subtle. To navigate these advertising difficulties, companies developed clever marketing strategies. Kotex advertisements often featured images of nurses or emphasized the product's medical origins. This helped to lend an air of scientific legitimacy and respectability. They also encouraged women to ask for them by name, Kotex, to help women overcome potential embarrassment when purchasing the product from a store clerk. Modess, on the other hand, took a different approach. Their ads were often more stylish and fashion-oriented, sometimes featuring elegant women in beautiful gowns. The tagline Modess, because aimed to associate the product with modernity, sophistication and freedom without explicitly stating the reason. The design of these early commercial sanitary napkins was relatively simple compared to today's products. They typically consisted of a thick rectangular pad made of the absorbent cellucotton material. This absorbent core was usually wrapped in a fine gauze-like covering. A crucial difference from modern pads was that these early versions did not have adhesive strips on the back. To keep the pad in place, women had to use them with special sanitary belts. These belts were elastic or cloth garments with loops or clips to attach the pad. Alternatively, some women would pin the pads to their undergarments. While a significant improvement over reusable rags, they were still somewhat cumbersome to wear. Section 6. Mid-century advancements. The push for comfort and discretion. The period from the 1930s through the 1960s witnessed a steady stream of gradual improvements in sanitary napkin technology. As more women began to adopt commercial disposable pads, companies like Kimberly-Clark and Johnson & Johnson continued to refine their products. The primary goals of these innovations were to make the pads more comfortable to wear. They also aimed to enhance their discretion, making them less noticeable under clothing. The market for menstrual products was slowly expanding. This growing competition between major brands served as a catalyst for further research and development in pad design and materials. One key area of focus was the quest for better materials. While cellucotton had been a revolutionary absorbent, research continued into other options. Manufacturers experimented with different types of wood pulp, as well as new synthetic fibers like rayon. The objective was to achieve even greater absorbency without adding excessive bulk to the pad. The outer layers, or cover sheets, of the pads also saw improvements. Companies worked to develop materials that were softer against the skin and less likely to cause irritation or chafing. The ultimate aim was to create a product that felt more natural and less intrusive for the wearer during her period. A truly significant breakthrough in sanitary napkin design occurred in the late 1960s and early 1970s. This was the introduction of adhesive strips on the underside of the pads. This seemingly simple innovation had a major impact on convenience and user experience. The adhesive allowed the pad to be stuck directly to the inside of a woman's underwear. This completely eliminated the need for the often uncomfortable and cumbersome sanitary belts and safety pins that had been used for decades. This change made pads much more secure, easier to use, and far more discreet. It was a huge leap forward in making menstrual products more user-friendly. These technological advancements in sanitary napkins were also happening alongside broader societal shifts. Throughout the mid-20th century, women's roles in society continued to evolve. More women were pursuing higher education, entering diverse professions, and becoming more active in sports and public life. This increased mobility and participation created a stronger demand for reliable, comfortable, and discreet menstrual products. While the stigma surrounding menstruation certainly hadn't vanished, public discourse about women's health and bodies was slowly beginning to open up. Product design started to reflect this, becoming more anatomical and body-conscious, catering to a more active and aware female consumer. Section 7. The modern era technological leaps in the late 20th century. The latter part of the 20th century, particularly from the 1970s through the 1990s, brought about substantial technological advancements in the design and functionality of sanitary napkins. This period can be characterized by rapid innovation. Manufacturers focused intently on achieving even greater levels of absorbency, while simultaneously making pads thinner and improving their overall fit. Scientific research and material science played an increasingly significant role in product development. As women's lifestyles became more active and demanding, their expectations for the performance and discretion of menstrual products also rose considerably, pushing companies to innovate further. A pivotal development during this era was the introduction and widespread adoption of superabsorbent polymers, often abbreviated as SAPs. These remarkable materials, which began appearing in sanitary pads in the 1970s and became more common in the 1980s, were a true game changer. SAPs are tiny granules that have the incredible ability to absorb and retain many times their own weight in liquid. They work by locking menstrual fluid away as a gel. This technological breakthrough allowed sanitary pads to become significantly thinner and lighter, yet more absorbent than ever before. This directly addressed the long-standing issue of bulkiness that many women found undesirable in older styles of pads. Thanks to the capabilities of superabsorbent polymers, ultra-thin sanitary pads became increasingly popular. These much sleeker pads offered a new level of discretion, being virtually unnoticeable under tight-fitting clothing like jeans or leggings. Alongside the trend towards thinner pads, companies also began to invest heavily in designing pads that contoured more effectively to a woman's body. Anatomical shapes, rather than simple rectangles, were introduced. These body form or body fit designs aimed to improve comfort, reduce bunching, and crucially, minimize the risk of leakage by fitting more closely to the body's curves. The emphasis was on creating a pad that moved seamlessly with the body during various activities. Another highly significant innovation that greatly enhanced the performance of sanitary napkins was the introduction of wings. These emerged in the late 1980s and became a standard feature on many pads in the 1990s. Wings are the flaps on the sides of the pad that fold around the edges of a woman's underwear and adhere to the underside. This clever design feature helped to keep the pad much more securely in place, preventing shifting and twisting during movement. Furthermore, wings provided an extra barrier of protection against side leaks, which had always been a common concern. This innovation significantly boosted women's confidence in the reliability of sanitary pads. Section 8. The 21st century and beyond innovation continues. The dawn of the 21st century has seen the continued evolution of sanitary napkin technology, with innovation now branching out into several key areas. While core absorbency and comfort remain important, new priorities have emerged. These include a stronger focus on sustainability, greater product personalization, and the integration of menstrual health with broader wellness trends. The rise of the internet and social media has also profoundly changed how women access information about menstrual products. It has fostered more open conversations and created a demand for greater transparency from manufacturers, as well as a wider array of choices to suit individual needs and preferences. Sustainability has become a major driver of innovation in recent years. There's growing public awareness of the environmental impact of traditional disposable sanitary pads, which contribute significantly to landfill waste. This concern has fueled a demand for more eco-friendly alternatives. As a result, companies are increasingly developing and marketing pads made from materials like organic cotton, bamboo, or other plant-based fibers. Research into biodegradable and compostable materials for pads is also ongoing. Concurrently, reusable options such as modern cloth pads and menstrual cups have experienced a significant resurgence in popularity among environmentally conscious consumers. Alongside environmental concerns, there is a continued focus on catering to specific individual needs through advanced materials and specialized product lines. Brands now offer an extensive range of pads designed for different flow levels: light, regular, heavy, overnight, various physical activities, and differing skin sensitivities. New top sheet materials are being developed to provide a drier feel against the skin and enhance breathability, which can reduce humidity and potential discomfort. Some products also incorporate advanced odor-neutralizing technology that works without the use of added perfumes, which can be irritating for some users. The trend is towards providing highly tailored solutions. A very important development in the 21st century is the increased global awareness of period poverty. This term refers to the lack of access to sanitary products, menstrual hygiene education, and adequate sanitation facilities. This issue affects millions of girls and women around the world, particularly in low-income countries and marginalized communities. Period poverty can have severe consequences, hindering girls' education, impacting women's health and ability to work, and undermining their dignity. Numerous non-profit organizations, social enterprises, and advocacy groups are now working tirelessly to address this problem by providing affordable, accessible, and culturally appropriate menstrual products and education in underserved regions. This highlights the profound social importance of these seemingly simple items. Section 9. Conclusion: A legacy of innovation and empowerment. The evolutionary journey of the sanitary napkin is truly a remarkable story of technological and social change. It began in ancient times with women resourcefully using simple, natural materials found in their environment. It progressed through centuries of makeshift, reusable solutions, often laborious and challenging. Then, with the dawn of the industrial age, came the first tentative steps towards commercialization, followed by pivotal wartime innovations. The 20th and 21st centuries have witnessed an explosion of technological advancements, transforming the humble pad into a sophisticated product. This entire journey closely mirrors broader societal shifts in attitudes towards women's health and hygiene. The impact of accessible and effective sanitary napkins on the lives of women and girls has been nothing short of profound. The development of reliable menstrual products has been a key factor in enabling women and girls to participate more fully and equitably in all aspects of daily life. With dependable menstrual protection, they can attend school consistently, pursue careers, engage in sports and other activities, and travel with greater confidence and less fear of interruption or embarrassment due to their periods. In this way, the sanitary napkin, a seemingly mundane item, has played a significant role in advancing gender equality and female empowerment across the globe. Looking towards the future, the innovation in menstrual hygiene technology is set to continue. We can anticipate further developments in sustainable and eco-friendly product options, as well as potentially smarter pads that might integrate with health tracking apps or offer diagnostic capabilities. Greater personalization of products to meet highly specific individual needs is also a likely trend. Perhaps most importantly, the global conversation surrounding menstruation is becoming increasingly open and destigmatized. This positive shift helps to promote better menstrual health education, reduce shame, and foster a more supportive environment for all who menstruate. Ultimately, sanitary napkins are far more than just consumer products. They represent a long and often quiet history of women's efforts to achieve comfort, hygiene, and dignity. They symbolize the recognition of women's specific physiological needs and the technological ingenuity applied to meet those needs. The evolution of the sanitary napkin is an ongoing narrative. The ultimate goal remains clear: to ensure that every girl and woman everywhere in the world has access to safe, affordable, effective, and dignified menstrual hygiene solutions. This journey is a powerful testament to human innovation and the continuous pursuit of improved health and well-being for all members of society.